Welcome back, my friends, to another video. Today we're going to be watching Aliens, the sequel to Alien, which Ashley had seen several weeks ago, and we have just been running behind on it, but here it is. He's about to watch Aliens, and I think you guys are going to like it because of what I remember from this movie. It's a lot more intense than Alien was. I think Alien was more of a suspense film. This movie was more of like an action film with monsters in it. But I'm not going to give too much away for her. I just wanted to see what she thinks, and I'm sure you guys do too. So Ash, what do you remember about Alien? What do you remember? What questions you had? What do you think is going to happen in the sequel? And are you excited?
I am really excited to see this movie. I've been waiting to watch this for several weeks now. I apologize that we haven't been able to get to it, but we're getting to it now, and I'm super stoked. I can't wait to see what happens with everybody. Well, I guess there's only one lady left, so I'm assuming we're going to get a whole new cast of people, which is going to be pretty cool. I'm curious to see where Sigourney Weaver, her character, is going to fit into this next movie. The alien died, it got ejected from the ship, and so now we're launching onto the next thing, but we're not really sure if there were any eggs left over, so I wonder. I have a feeling that's probably going to come into play at some point because that alien was on the ship initially whenever she first got in there, so we'll see.
I'm not going to give you anything away. I'm not going to say anything. You're going to show it to everyone watching. I'm not going to say anything. So we're just going to get started. Aliens.
This is her ship, right?
Yeah, this is the escape pod where the final battle happened.
Her name's Ripley, right?
Yeah.
That's a cool fact.
Jonesy, come here.
I mean, the cat survived all that, so
Yes, you two have met.
Props.
I'm Bert.
How long was I out there?
Has no one discussed this with you yet?
No.
57 years.
What?
What?
Someone get in here now!
No!
4472 has acted with questionable judgment.
All right, I'm in.
All right, sweetheart, so what are you waiting for? Breakfast in bed?
Have you ever been mistaken for a man?
No. Have you?
Enjoy your meal.
That wasn't funny, man.
You never said anything about an android being on board. Why not?
And a few deaths were involved.
I'm shocked.
Few?
That could never happen now with our behavioral inhibitors. You sure you don't want some?
Guess you don't like the cornbread either.
Is this gonna be a stand-up fight, sir, or another bug hunt?
A xenomorph may be involved.
Excuse me, sir. A what?
A parasite. We tried to get it off. It wouldn't come off.
I only need to know one thing. Where they are.
Where you want it?
That's what we're going to do, sweetheart. We are going to go and get some. All right, people.
On my mark.
We're on express elevator to hell.
How many combat drops?
2.
Looks melted. Somebody must have bagged one of Ripley's bad guys here.
It's okay. It's all right. Don't be afraid. Newt, go.
Steady, people.
Flamethrower, move!
so dope.
a second. There's something. Right?
Bishop, I want these specimens destroyed as soon as you're finished with them. Is that clear?
Burke! It was Burke!
Meanwhile,
Get away from her, you bitch!
I feel like that's like the iconic line from this scene, or from
Can I dream?
I think we both can.
So we just finished watching Aliens. I realized about 10 minutes in that I don't think I've ever watched this movie all the way through. I remember distinctly the very end scene when Ripley shows up with the mech suit thing. That and a couple of other scenes throughout, like the big shootout scene. I remember those from when I was a lot younger. Way too young to watch this movie, I might add. But I didn't remember hardly anything, really. I kind of knew who was gonna die, like which characters died and which ones lived, but it was still hazy to me. So it was really awesome to get this pseudo-fresh feel for Aliens. I just wanted to make that clear because throughout the video, you're probably gonna see me actually get surprised, and that's because I didn't remember any of those scenes. Maybe because I never saw those scenes. I don't remember. I know that my uncle, who I always reference because he's the one that made me the nerd that I am today, he was a huge Alien fan. He was a huge James Cameron fan. So I was exposed to all of these movies growing up, but I never really sat down, especially not as an adult, for this franchise. I haven't sat down and watched them from beginning to end like I have other franchises. So that was really refreshing. But anyway, before I say my piece, I want to hear what Ashley thinks of the movie, and I'm sure you guys do too. So babe, what did you think of Aliens?
I loved it. I thought it was great. I actually liked this movie a lot better than the first one. The first one was kind of a slow burn for me, whereas this one, I was totally interested the entire time. I was totally interested in the story. I loved the characters. I loved the little girl. I loved everybody. It was awesome. I especially loved some of the special effects. I can definitely tell that in this one, the aliens were a lot more, I guess, high-tech. I don't know what the word would be, but it definitely didn't look like a person in a suit. It definitely looked like a creature from another world, which I thought that was freaking cool. A couple of the scenes that I thought were really neat, the one where they look up into the ceiling and Hudson looks up into the ceiling and he looks up and all you see is like this, and then you see the aliens coming up from him. That is such a cool scene. Like, it was truly terrifying. Like, I was terrified for them. And there's not one character in this that I actually didn't really like. I really liked all of them, and I really didn't want any of them to die. I know some of them did. with the exception of the one bad guy, I guess. You know, it's always the corporate guy that wants to save the aliens to make this, weapons manufacturing or something. I feel like that's always the excuse in any kind of these, and in most of these movies, it's always that excuse, you know, oh, we're gonna use it for military stuff. It's like, dude, come on. Like, you know you're not gonna do that. You know you're gonna die at some point by the alien. The reveal of the Queen was pretty neat. I don't know if you saw it, but I was really grossed out by that. That was super gross. The fact that you just saw, like, her, like, it was like her butt, I guess? I don't know what you would call it. Her reproductive organ come down, and you saw her, like, actually making the eggs and stuff.
It was like a fallopian tube.
No, trust me, that's not a fallopian tube. Like, I took anatomy, and that's not even near what we're talking about here. But anyway, it was really cool the way that they shot that. It was totally all practical effects. The only part that I have, like, a gripe on for it not looking as great is some of the scenes where they did the I don't know if you call it a tracking shot or not, but the scenes where they did the ships, and you could see the ship, and it definitely didn't look like it was a real ship floating somewhere. It definitely looked like someone was holding, like, a little Lego piece that was, like, moving along.
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that we watched it on Blu-ray, because in my experience anyway, Blu-ray kind of highlights all of the special effects of movies, unless they're, like, by today's standards, you know, super incredibly amazing. And even then, sometimes they show the flaws because it's so high def that you get to see what's real in the background and what's not real in the foreground, or a mixture or combination of both. So I think a lot of that was the fact that what most of the movie was practical, like you said. The sets, it was a big set scene and everything, all the mechs and everything. The only thing that wasn't practical were the ships, and I think maybe some of the alien shots, like when the Queen is running. But for the most part, it was practical. So I think that's why that just stood out to you.
I think you put up a very good point about the scenes. That's a whole nother thing. Like, the scenes in this movie were just amazing. You had all these different places where you would just, like, kind of squish around, and just, like, you could tell that the scenes were just, whoever designed the set was phenomenal, because it just made you seem like you were in a whole nother world with these aliens that totally invaded, and, like, I mean, they're parasitic. That's really the only way that you can go around it. I mean, they're a parasitic creature. The way that they shot it was great. I mean, it was definitely more of an action film, like you said in the beginning, Pastor. I totally agree with you on that. This was definitely more of an action film, and so I think it was easier for me to get into it, because the suspense part of the first one, while it did build suspense, I was a little, some of the effects, you know, were a little not as good as comparison to this one. The aliens in this one were definitely the best part of the entire movie. The fact that you could see them coming and they were moving, and especially in the scene where they all get attacked, that was really cool. How they just kind of melted out of the background and just kind of were like, haha, look, we're here, we're going to eat you. I really loved Ripley in this one. I loved how you kind of see her kind of gain, like, this maternal love for this little girl who was literally, like, the last survivor of this entire fleet of people that were there, you know. And she literally, it showed how she survived in the very beginning. I love that. I love how movies, you know, they show you instead of tell. I hate how a lot of times movies will, like, narrate what happened, and as opposed to just telling you. And in this one, they really showed you, like, hey, this is how she survived. She literally lived in this little vent thing for, you know, as long as she possibly could to survive. So, you know, I thought that was pretty cool, and I thought that was great that Ripley totally was like, look, I gotta go save this little girl, like, hopefully I can get out of here. And, you know, it definitely played on my heartstrings a little bit. I was really hoping that the little girl would survive. All in all, though, I really love this movie. I thought it was great. It's definitely a movie that I would watch again for sure. I would definitely recommend it. It was phenomenal. I have to say, I like, as far as my ranking thus far, and I know we're premature because I know there's a lot of other movies besides this one, I definitely think that this is probably my favorite one out of the two that we've seen.
James Cameron is just great at what he does. He obviously is one of the greats for a reason. It's one of those movies like Terminator, what other example? Blade, some people would say, was better than the first for a lot of different ways, but it also didn't take anything away from the original. I know with movies like Terminator especially, wonder why, it was really good to see how he, like, was able to get obviously better technology, higher budget and all that kind of thing to produce a huge blockbuster of a sequel. Star Wars, how can I forget? Empire was like considered, and I think some consider it the greatest sequel of all time. So these movies don't come around, especially not anymore. Franchises usually die within the first 2 movies, and that's just because people wanted a little bit more but didn't really need a sequel. These movies, I think, needed a sequel just because they left so many questions unanswered. And I know that for me, playing things like D&D and like reading and writing books and short stories and stuff, I sometimes leave things open for interpretation. So I'm not docking that, but I know that this movie in particular, I know Ash, you said, I kind of want to know what happens, you know, she's floating in space, is that it, you know? So it left you wanting to know what happened, and not in a way where you wanted to come up with your own conclusions. You kind of wanted them to point you in the right direction and just give you a little bit more. And I think this movie did a fantastic job doing that. It definitely answered, where was Ripley going? What was the point in going back? You know, they actually didn't go back for no reason. They went back to prove to all the skeptics that, you know, hey, these aliens, you don't want to study them, just know they exist and that's it. They're not going to bring anything good for us. You know, even what they bleed, even something as precious as their life force is destructive to us. So it did a really good job of showing that and closing that gap. And, you know, they were able to bring back a little girl that was basically destined to die because of Burke and, you know, his selfish and, you know, money hungry tendencies. So I love that that's what this movie tackled. And, you know, a lot of people died because obviously, you know, they hyped up the danger, and if people didn't die, even though they were colonial marines, if they didn't die, then it kind of would have been like, well, it's not that big a deal, let's just go nuke the whole place. But it was a very precarious little situation that, you know, morality and ethics and everything came into play. So this movie is really, really, really well done. I haven't looked up what IMDb or Rotten Tomatoes gave it, but I can't imagine it being under an 80%. I'm going to do that as soon as I finish this video. So I'm really happy that upon watching it, I didn't know everything that was coming. We were able to share this, you and I together, and all of you watching. So I'm really happy for that. I'm really thankful for that. This movie was really, really good. I know that you guys want to know what Ashley rated because that's what this series is about. So I'm going to get my rating out of the way. Honestly, from 1 to 10, I would give this movie a solid 8.5, kind of a soft 9. There were a couple things that not that I didn't like. There wasn't anything I disliked about this movie. It made me hate the bad guy. It made me love the protagonist. So I don't have many gripes upon watching it for the first time. But yeah, I give it about an 8.5, maybe a 9, depending. I think I'm going to watch it again in the future, and maybe it'll turn into a 9. Definitely not going to give it a 10. But an 8.5 is really, really, really where I want to be right now. Ash, what would you give Aliens?
I would have to say, honestly, I think I'd give it a 9. I really loved it that much. I thought it was great. It did so much more than the first movie for me. I was totally engrossed the entire time. I was super rooting. I love stories that have, you know, the underdog kind of thing. Like, I was really, really stoked about them, like, just making it out and just like, you really, really, James Cameron did a really great job at making you want the characters to live. Like, you want all of them to just live, just get out of there. And it's kind of like Get Out, like, you just want them to get out. So I have to give it a 9. I loved it that much, and I cannot wait to see where the rest of this series goes. I'm kind of scared because I don't know how the third one's gonna top that one, because I really liked it that much. I thought it was just absolutely amazing. It was phenomenal. I loved it.
Awesome. So I'm glad that she liked it, because then obviously it makes her want to keep watching the franchise, and you guys get to see that too. So that's going to do it for this video. Thank you guys so much. I know it's been a minute. I know I promised this video weeks ago. If you're new here, please consider subscribing to the channel for more content like this. I have a Patreon page and a Teespring page. All the descriptions, all the links will be down in the description below if you guys want to support the channel that way. All of your contributions directly affect the channel, and I really, 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 really am happy, and I appreciate the fact that I have a following, that you guys want to watch this stuff, because to us, we love it. So the fact that you guys love it makes me really happy. So thank you guys so much for that. I want to take a quick moment to thank my patrons. Their names should be scrolling right around here, right about now. These guys are directly responsible for all the content and all the production value, I guess, that I get to the channel now. I mentioned it before, I got a new microphone. I'm getting more things to get the content to be a little bit better, more lighting and stuff like that. And these people make that happen. They directly influence the channel and directly give me the means to be able to give you guys more. So I'm really thankful for that. If you want to, remember the link's in the description below, but you don't have to. But if you do, I greatly appreciate it. You guys are awesome, and I will catch you in the next video. Take it easy.